The Walt Disney World Marathon weekend is behind us. Today, we review everything that happened. Jed, man, I'm sitting here with some sore feet.
I would imagine so.
Full belly, though. From
all over the place.
Yeah, all of the eating and things that have gone on. But, man, what a weekend. Got to see so many of you down there on the courses, so many of you that listen to the podcast. It was cool to connect in person with you. And, man, it was just a good weekend. Today we're going to just go over everything that happened this weekend, talk about the highs, the lows, some things. We'll talk about my races, which actually a lot of the advice that I give, Jed, we were laughing before the podcast, a lot of the things that I tell people definitely don't do, I ended up having to do.
I was going to say, did every single thing that you told everybody. You texted Bonnie at one point, Magic Kingdom, open to close.
Yep. Yeah. So,
well, there goes that idea.
Yeah, it was, but man, we had a really good time. I had our middle daughter, she was there with me. So we got to do a lot of things. So yeah, man, good weekend. Good weekend.
Well, take us through it a little bit. I know we talked a lot about what was going to go on and how you were going to have to do it and what people needed to do, but you just, start with what you saw, like real world experience. What was first in the pre-race and the expo on Wednesday afternoon?
Yeah. Getting to the expo was super. I had a split stay. We stayed at Pop Century on Wednesday and Thursday night. And then we jumped over to the Grand Floridian on Friday and Saturday night, and there's a reason for that I'll talk about in a second. But yeah, we got in. We drove in, with all the flights, and that's something that talking to a lot of people down there, man, there was still a lot of flight problems.
Yeah.
With people coming in, but we drove down. It's about a 7-hour drive, from where we are. So we drove in, got in, like mid-afternoon on Wednesday. Again. We've talked about this before about the Disney transportation. Literally, we got there, checked in. My daughter, she was getting herself, she wanted to get ready we were going to go eat at Disney Springs that night. And I just hopped on the bus, man, right over there in 10 minutes, and then jumped in. So, really didn't run into any problems on Wednesday. Now, some people did run into problems, and it's one of the things we're going to talk about trying to improve. But the expo, especially the merchandise of the Disney merchandise, it was, if you're familiar with the virtual queue for Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh yeah.
You had to get in a virtual queue, and it was, I guess the best way to describe it was an absolute disaster. and the biggest problem, and again, we're going to talk about this at the end with some of the cons and maybe how could the Disney experience get better. But the biggest problem was a lot of the legitimate runners, people that were running in the races, didn't get an opportunity to buy merchandise because other people, that were there, that they were able to get in that virtual queue and went in and bought their maximum amount of stuff. And then literally, kind of the dagger in the heart for people, which I'm not a big merchandise guy,
right?
But for people that were wanting to get a shirt or something like that, the dagger in the heart was the next day these things were on eBay for $25, $30 more.
I was going to ask, is that maybe collectors who are looking to turn a quick profit on something like that?
That's exactly what it is. You've got the people that want to get the shirt or want to get the pen or whatever it may be, but then you've got people coming in and they are there for profit. And some of these people they'll have 3 or 4 different people that are in there buying the maximum amount of things, and then they just turn right around and sell them sell them for a profit, which, people can, I don't want to get too far into that. We're going to talk about that in the cons of maybe how we could improve the expo and the merchandise deal. But yeah, overall, we got everything done, and then we jumped over to Disney Springs and just walked around for just a little bit and got some dinner and got back, was in bed, and tried to sleep, tried to be in bed by 9, but it's always tough to get to sleep
right
there. So
Too much going on, too much you might be missing.
yeah, just too much going on, just a lot. And I do believe that very first, I think the first night in the first morning, that early morning wake up is the hardest one.
Got to get back in that rhythm of, hey, I've got to get up and get out on the course.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's you're getting into the mode. The thing you're thinking on that first night is, well, tomorrow's just a 5K,
Right.
so you can pretty much sleepwalk through it. But you still got to get, and so there's just a lot going against you to be able to really get in. I mean, when it's the night before the marathon, all right, I need to get myself in bed.
Yeah, it's kind of a different mindset.
Yep. And but what that can do is that can just, all these things can kind of compound on each other. But man, pre-race, can't complain.
How was your 5K? I mean, once you got to sleep and got up in 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, good. Man, I was not feeling good that 5K morning because I didn't get much sleep.
Right.
For that very reason. I was just, just up talking to my daughter, and I was just tired. And so got there for the 5K and all the pageantry. I mean, it kind of ramps you back up, and I always like to look for people that it's their first time there, and just the kind of the awe in their eyes and how excited they are. But man, we got there, went through, they changed it now where the security you go through is the same security you go through like you were going in Epcot. Got through that, walked up, got a coffee, and just really got in the corrals. I was in the A corral. I actually on those 2 days, on 5K and 10K day, I plan to be on the 4:00 bus. And some people, that makes them cringe because they tell you to be on earlier buses, and some people want to be the very first people there. But I got on the 4:00 bus, got out to Epcot, and I was to my corral. Now, they had just, if you were at the race, you listen, they had just released the A corral to walk down to the start line. And so when I got there and got to the corrals, my corral was already walking to the start line. And so I just got into the back of them and went to it. So I had plenty of time to do that. I just don't like, and again, that morning, I said I wasn't feeling real. I just had not gotten a lot of rest the night before. So we, they sent us off. We like we described in the course thing, the 5K is kind of, you just go straight out, take a right, and then you come into the back of Epcot over there around Mexico, and you go around the World Showcase, and you pop out backstage over there, on the other side of the World Showcase, and then you come back through Epcot, through the little side of Epcot over there near, I think, Figment.
Yeah, I think
Figment. Journey of Imagination.
Right, yeah, that's Figment.
Run straight across, and then you go backstage. All of them ended the same way. You go backstage again, and you come back around. So 5K, not a lot to say about that. It was, just kind of that next step, especially for the Dopey challengers, that next step of getting through. Like I said in the preview, you encounter everything in the 5K in every corral. There was, with me starting, when I got there, I was kind of starting at the back of the A corral, and it was everything. I mean, I encountered, saw people take off, and they were looking for PRs, and then a lot of people, they were walking from the very beginning. A lot of different things going on in the 5K. So yeah, overall, good race. I stuck to my plan of that point of just taking it easy, stopped, got a couple of pictures, and just kind of, in the Dopey, you're just trying to get to tomorrow.
Right, just finish.
Yep, is what you're doing.
So then you were at Pop Century again, but I guess you went to the parks first. How'd that first parks day go for you?
Yeah. So, we give advice and talk about, trying to stay off your feet, as you're moving towards these things. But man, I got home from the race, got in the shower, and we were, like I said, Pop Century and Art of Animation, Riviera, um, Caribbean Beach. The good thing about those is they have Skyliner access that can get you to Hollywood Studios or Epcot.
Right.
You have transfer, but we got out and we're on the Skyliner, and we were I think we were out at the Skyliner 7:15, and we were over at Epcot and in line about 7:45. 8:30 was the early entrance, but they let us in about 8. And we did the virtual queue for Guardians, and we were park hopping that day going over to Hollywood Studios. So we were going to try to get Guardians in. We did Soarin'. We love Soarin'.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, Ratatouille. You kind of got to make that decision. If you're not using lightning lanes for that, we were using our lightning lanes for Hollywood Studios when we were park hopping over that day. So we weren't using any lightning lanes. So we decided not to go wait in the line at Ratatouille. So we went over and did Soarin', and then Spaceship Earth. We went over to Connections Cafe. Of course, I had my 16-year-old daughter with me, so she had to get Starbucks. They can't do anything in life without going to Starbucks.
Here's a controversial Disney opinion: Joffrey's is better than Starbucks.
Oh, I 1,000% agree. And I'm, yeah. I mean, it's funny whenever I've got my daughters with me. I will go by Starbucks with the little app, and I'll spend $6 on whatever their little coffee is, and then I'll go get gas, and I'll go in and get my
you get a 3-liter coffee at Spink's for 99 cents.
Yeah. So that's kind of the story of my life. But we went over there and got some coffee and just kind of chilled out. We weren't going hard like we usually do. We jumped on Guardians, and just an awesome ride if you haven't ridden that before. But after that, we decided we were going to hop on over to Hollywood Studios, and so we park hopped, got over there, and did everything. We had, by stacking those lightning lanes. If you're park hopping, you can do the lightning lanes for your whatever park you're going to hop into. And so we bought the lightning lane for Rise of the Resistance, and then we had Millennium Falcon, Slinky Dog. We did everything we wanted to do. So we got over there and did those things. Went over to the ABC commissary. Love that buffalo chicken grilled cheese.
We told you last week that thing's good.
Yeah, we went over there and ate some lunch, and then did the parks. We were back in the room. Like I said, we didn't go crazy, but I say we didn't go crazy. We were standing in line at Epcot at before 8:00, and we got back to the room probably about 7:30.
Right.
So it was we were out all day.
12 hours.
Yeah. And
standard Disney day.
Yeah, but the good thing was at that point I was tired, and so when we got back, she was wanting to just FaceTime her friends, do whatever 16-year-old girls do.
Right.
And so I turned the lights off and got a really good night's sleep. So I woke up for 10K day and felt really good.
Right.
I felt really rejuvenated, really good. I did remember it that day that's a danger where you feel really good and you want to go out and
crush it.
I'm gonna go out and just crush this 10K. I was able to not do that again. Left same time, 4:00. Was on that 4:00 bus. We were over there, and again, same thing. I got there right when they were releasing the A corral to be able to go to walk down. You're in corrals, and then they release you to go to the start line. And so I got there in plenty of time for that. I wanted to be kind of at the back of the corral because I wasn't going to be running hard, and it's just a big old mess at the front of those corrals, especially on 5K and 10K day. So got there, and 10K course again. It changed this year. You run out the same 5K. You run right out of the parking lot. You're just like you're running to the back of the parking lot, and you take a 90-degree turn right. For the 10K, you run straight out the same way, and you take a 90-degree turn left. You run out there, but this time you go out and you make a U-turn. You run through I was a little disappointed that the when you run out of Epcot, there where the cars come in and they check your passes or you pay for parking or whatever. They didn't have anybody standing up top. Usually they have a little entertainment there. But,
Yeah, something to do.
Yeah, but generally, 10K. I mean, they had good entertainment out on the course. It was good course. It was really, talk about the weather. It was cold on the 5K. It was cold to start the 10K, but it was really humid that day. I looked at some of my race pictures and I was just wringing wet at the end of that race. It was just a humid morning and wasn't really hot, but it was just really humid. So you run out, same way, you make that U-turn, come back, and then you cut back across the bridge that goes back over to Epcot. Same one that we run on the during the half marathon. But yeah, we went back into Epcot backstage, and you came through there. And I don't want to go through a whole course review, but you come through there and then you run over to the boardwalk, run around the boardwalk. You're going backwards from what we used to, and then come back in the World Showcase, run around, and then you go out the same way. So good day, good 10K day. Like I said, it was really humid that day. It was hotter at the end of the marathon, but I think the most humidity we faced was on 10K
right
day.
there. Wow.
Yeah.
Did you hit the parks hard again that day?
We did not hit them. As what we did is we were a little bit smarter on this day, where that morning we were going to park hop again. We were going to go back to Epcot, do Guardians, and then we were going to hop over to the Magic Kingdom because Splash Mountain they're retheming Splash Mountain. That's our favorite ride, so we wanted to get 2 days of that. So we were park hopping over to Magic Kingdom that day. Well, when we got back, good thing is my daughter had stayed up late, face or whatever they do. And so when I got back from the 10K, got back to the room, I jumped in the shower and just talked to her. I said, "Hey, look, let's just wait, just go to Magic Kingdom."
Right.
And when we were going, and so again, at 7:00, I did got my first lightning lane for Peter Pan, which that one bust way on up into the night pretty quickly. So I got to Peter Pan for the park hopping hours, which is after 2:00, and then lay down, took a nap.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And had a really, the room was completely dark. She was asleep in the other bed, not making a sound. And so just lay there and took about a 3-hour just felt. And man, I woke up and I felt like $1 million.
That's how to do it.
Felt like $1 million. And so we got up that day and took off the Magic Kingdom, got over there. Did find out something, because we're not park hoppers. When we go, when our family goes, we go in a park and we just kill that park. We just beat it into submission that day. Then we go to the next part the next day. But we got over to Magic Kingdom, and it was about 1:30. And you know how to eat. Sometimes they'll let you.
Sometimes, yeah, they'll kind of play around with it.
So we scanned, and she said, "Oh, we got a problem." She said, "We got 2 problems." I'm like, "Great. Usually you can get out of 1 problem, boys."
2 is bad.
She said, "You're early." She said, "And you haven't gone to your first park yet."
Oh, yeah, okay, I forgot that.
And so I'm like, "Oh man." I said, "Look," I said, "Is there anything? We're just here." And she held her hand up, and guy came over, and I just told her, I said, "Look, dude, we don't park hop. We're just, the only reason we were park hopping is so we could do Magic Kingdom, because it wasn't available." And he helped us out. He changed it to where we were supposed to be in Magic Kingdom first. I don't know how he did it. It had his little magic iPad up there doing whatever he does.
Those people make the real magic happen.
Yeah, they make the real magic happen. So he got us in, and so we went on in, and I went to my favorite, what I believe to be, it's one of my top 5 foods in all of Walt Disney World, is the spicy chicken waffle at Sleepy Hollow.
I've never had that one, because one of my top 3 is the Nutella waffle at Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah. Well, the good thing for me is I love the spicy chicken one, My son loves the spicy chicken one,
Yeah.
and one of my daughters likes the spicy chicken. Everybody else loves the Nutella.
So split a couple.
So I get to eat the spicy chicken one by myself, and then I eat whatever's left over of all the Nutella ones. But we went over there, and then we toured. We did all the big ones that day. Peter Pan, Space, Splash, Thunder. We Haunted Mansion. We did everything that we wanted to do. And again, we were taking it easy. We weren't. I mean, when we're there during the summer, we're power walking everywhere. Right. I mean, we're hammering it out. We took it easy. We just did our lightning lanes, which I still call them fast passes.
they're always going to be fast passes, probably.
Yeah. So we did that, and it was a good day. I stayed hydrated. I did stayed hydrated, and I had a water bottle with me that I kept. And I would add my electrolytes to it, and so I stayed well hydrated, but I was on my feet a lot that day, which generally we're going to tell you if you're trying to, but again now I do want to say one of the strategies when I have said before, like if you're going, it's a family trip, if it's your first trip, if it's something, then tour the parks. You're in Disney World, tour the parks, and having her there, and you don't get that much just one-on-one time, with your kids when they're that age. It was, I just felt like that was probably more important than trying to kill my races.
Before we start to touch on the half, I want to ask a question about your split stay, which I think is something people don't take advantage of and should. When did y'all have to move after you ran the half?
No, we moved on. We stayed Wednesday night and Thursday night. We were in Pop Century.
Okay.
Friday night and Saturday night we were over at the Grand. So after the 10K is when we left.
That's when you moved.
Yeah, and
what people don't get, and I see it all the time. I'm in a travel group from when we went to Vegas. People will do split stays in Vegas all the time because they get comps, different places and stuff. A split stay at Disney is. It takes an hour or two away from your ability to be in the parks because you're having to travel, but it gives you a chance to experience. I mean, some of these places are just being honest, ridiculously expensive.
Yes.
But if you can catch a deal on a night or two, it gives you a chance to experience that level of what they do down there, and then you can stay in an economy rate place another couple of nights.
Yeah, and they're all experiences, and like I said, we were at two completely different spectrums. We were in a value resort, Pop Century, and then we went over to a deluxe. So I mean, we were at
you saw both extremes, and probably the deluxe. Being honest,
yeah. I mean, it is very, very nice. And we rent, we'll do a podcast whenever we start preparing for next year's, we'll do a pod that talks about how to find good deals on different things like
renting points,
all those kind of, I don't want to dive too far into that now, but you can, but I will say this, that the Pop Century, I've stayed at, during marathon weekend, I've stayed at all-star resorts, and I mean, they're all, a lot of times people hear value resort and they think, oh, that's going to be a cheap rundown. No, it's not. They're nice resorts. I mean, relatively speaking, compared to most hotels, they're going to be a level above that. You're still getting the Disney magic. The cast members are awesome. And I'll say this, generally speaking, your quick service dining options are going to be a lot better at the value resorts than they are to the deluxe villas.
Right. And that's what a lot of people don't understand is a lot of these things, the only difference is the higher tier has a sit-down restaurant and the value does not. That's it. That's the only difference a lot of times.
And it can be a little, you take Pop Century in Grand Floridian, high-end dining and sit down restaurant dining. There's not a place on Disney property that you can go and get more than you can there.
Correct.
But from a quick service standpoint, and like I said, marathon weekend, you're generally not going to be, except maybe the night after the marathon, you're generally not going to be looking for a big fancy meal
Right.
and, where you can really enjoy an experience of dining. It can be a little frustrating of the quick service options at the deluxe
Yeah.
villas. That is a downfall of that. I say a down, but most people that are going there, they're looking for just that big full experience.
Right.
So, but no, what you do, you have two options when you're doing that split stay, and if you're driving, depends on how much luggage you have. Not when our whole family goes. I mean, our luggage is packed. I mean, we have more luggage than you can shake a stick at. You just call down to Bell Services. They'll come up, get your luggage, and then they'll transfer it. Wherever you're going on Disney property, they'll transfer it. You go out to the parks, you show back up to your new resort, check in, tell Bell Services, they bring your stuff up to the room. We didn't have much. I mean, we had 2 suitcases. And so what we did is we just went out and put our stuff in the car, drove over to the Grand Floridian, checked in, and then that's when we and again, because we were going to Magic Kingdom, we just checked in. Room wasn't quite ready yet. We got on the monorail, went over to Magic Kingdom. So yeah, I think it's a way to enjoy the different resorts at Disney
without having to do 2 separate whole stays.
Yeah.
Okay, so Saturday morning, time for the half. You had said this was the one you were planning on attacking. Did you attack this one?
No, I was very smart.
Okay.
And I think that's what you have to do. I looked at really from mid-November through Christmas. That is in our business. That is absolutely the busiest time of the year.
No question.
And there are some long hours. And I was not able to get the training that I needed to get in at the end in.
Right.
And so when I looked at that half, I really looked at it and said, okay, I knew on that day, we were going to go to Magic Kingdom again. And that's something I did not want to sacrifice because it was very important to her.
Right.
Because again, Splash Mountain, just a lot. Yeah. So I went in, got up that morning. Again, this is when really business starts picking up, and it's just a different vibe.
Not discounting anything 5K and 10K runners are doing because I can't do either, but it's serious running now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. 13 miles is 13 miles.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot. The hard thing about the Dopey Challenge, there's just a lot that can go wrong.
Right.
In 13 miles.
What if you get a blister on mile 3?
Yeah.
Something
then you
like
got
that.
10 more miles, and then you got 26 miles the next
Right.
day. So you've really got tell people all the time with this challenge that Saturday will make or break your Sunday. So let's start with why did we move over to a monorail resort? Okay, you ride the buses. Again, the transportation is awesome. You ride the buses pick you up from any Disney resort, take you to the thing. The issue on Saturday and Sunday, on half marathon and full marathon day, is there's 2 to 3 times more people in that race. And those people are coming from off campus. They're coming from, some of them are driving that are even staying on Disney property. The roads are much more clogged up, tons more traffic on those days.
And that's what I think people lose sight of with the Dopey Challenge, because we've been talking about exclusively it. You're in the vast minority when you're doing the Dopey Challenge. There's people that just come to run the half.
Yeah.
And just come to run the marathon.
And that's the thing. A lot of people, their first half marathon is this marathon.
Because it's a milestone half marathon.
Absolutely. And so you're facing a lot more traffic. I've been stuck out there on a Disney bus before, wondering, okay, are we going to make it in time?
Right.
And in fact, a few years back, maybe 3 or 4 years back, they actually delayed the start of the marathon because the traffic was so bad.
Oh, wow.
And the buses were behind. They actually delayed the start, which was pretty something to see, that you did not expect. So the monorail, let me explain how that, you get on the monorail, and if you're familiar with the monorail resorts, it's the Polynesian, Bay Lake Tower, Contemporary, and the Grand Floridian. So there's a Magic Kingdom loop that runs back to the Ticket Transportation Center. So you get on the monorail, you ride over to the Ticket and Transportation Center. You get off there and you get on the Epcot monorail, and that takes you right to Epcot. The good thing is you go through security at your resort before you get on the monorail. And so when you get on the monorail, you don't have to go through security again when you get there. And so we did not know what kind of crowd we were going to have getting on the monorail at the Ticket and Transportation Center. And so my plan on that morning, it was earlier, and I was on the monorail at 3:30. And at 10 till 4, I was at Epcot.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. And so it was quick ride over to the Ticket and Transportation Center. We got off, got right on the monorail. It was not completely packed. Got off, and so we got there. Like I said, the difference is when you get to with 5K and 10K and the half and full is when you get to the race, generally you just 5K and 10K, you just walk right to the crowd, and it's right there. It's in the Epcot parking lot. With the half and full, you got about a mile walk that from when you get off, you got about a mile walk to get over to the crowd
Where you're going.
Yeah. And so we did that. I was in A corral for 5K and 10K, and I was in the B corral for the half and the full. I told you what I was feeling good at that point. I really did. I felt good. I was rested. The night before we got back, we didn't stay out late. Got back, was able to go right to sleep. Felt good. I was hydrated. Everything felt good. But I was still, I knew I was going to be touring the parks that day. I knew, had that big full coming up the next day. So I did something that I'd never done. My Garmin will tell me, it will say what your pace is for the race, what's your average pace for the entire race. But it also, I've got it set on my phone where I will do the average pace per mile. And what I did, I set a maximum pace for each mile.
That's a good idea.
And
slow yourself down a little bit.
Slow myself down and force myself not to overextend. And so what I would do is when my pace would hit that, I would have to either just walk, slow down, or I would, stop at this character stop. Do whatever it takes to get slowed down, do that. And that's what I did. I did it, and I just took it mile by mile. And this is going to be my pace. This is my max pace. And that's what I did. And it really, I left the half marathon and I felt good. I mean, I felt, I could tell I just run a half marathon, but felt good. Stopped at several character stops, talked to some people along the way. Just enjoyed the course. Got done. Course again, it's same course. You run out to Magic Kingdom from Epcot, and then run through Epcot, and then you're done. And so, yeah, it was a good half marathon. It was perfect weather. I mean, if you ask for running weather, it could not be any more perfect, especially in Florida. It was cool. For some people, it was a little bit too cool at the start. I thought it felt awesome. I mean, it was cold to start. Hands got cold, but it was, as you started running, it was cool, was not humid. And man, it just felt the weather was perfect. Atmosphere was perfect. Great on course entertainment. Just a really good half marathon. So yeah, just no complaints about Saturday.
Last day in the parks that day too?
Yep. We did kind of the same thing, got back, and I took a shower and then just laid down, and I don't know, took about a hour and a half nap.
Yeah. Just
kind of one power naps. She was out doing stuff at the resort, whatever. And yeah, just did that. And then we went over and, we ate at the Skipper's Cantina. Jungle. What's it called?
Jungle Cruise, Skipper Canteen, I think.
Skipper Canteen.
It's a Jungle Cruise themed restaurant.
Yep, Jungle Cruise themed restaurant. We wanted to try a new restaurant. We'd never been to that, so we went to that over in the Magic Kingdom. It was really good. I got the tastes like chicken because it is chicken. I think that's the name of the thing I got.
That's pretty good.
But it was good. Kind of a rice and a little bit of a spicy chicken dish. But yeah, it was good. Just we went out to the parks, Magic Kingdom, and we stayed. We were there from about 12, and I guess about 6 is when we went back. I actually went back before she did. She stayed up there on Main Street again, waited in line for Starbucks and just doing whatever out in the, just chilling out. But that was that.
And then Sunday's the big day. You got to head home, long drive. But first, you got to run 23 miles.
Yeah. It
26 miles.
26 miles. Yeah. Same thing that morning. Got up, got on the monorail, same time. Everything was kind of exactly the same as far as my timing that morning. And out there for the start, it was the same deal. I did the same thing. I said, all right, this is your maximum. This is your maximum rate, and that's what I did. And we'll talk about some of the pros and cons of the course, but we did that little 4-mile loop through Epcot. Like I told people, it's very underwhelming. It's not. There's nothing exciting going on during that 4 miles, and you head out to Magic Kingdom and float through there, then over to Animal Kingdom, out of Animal Kingdom over to Blizzard Beach. And we're going to talk about that stretch and the pros and cons, and then out to Hollywood Studios from there, Hollywood Studios, Epcot, and then you're done. The lot of things going on that day and the day before. They had some issues in gear check. Don't think they didn't have as many trucks there for people checking their gear. A lot of people got held up. Some people said they were even in that line for an hour, which is pretty crazy. Yeah. And then some of the corrals closed down, and people were, what I mean by that, when a corral closes down, like the further you are up in corrals, the closer you get to the start, they close the corral. Nobody gets back in. Yeah. And some of those people that were maybe B or C corrals, they got there late, and they were forced to go to the back corrals. Well, they didn't like that. Well, they were jumping over the corral. I mean, it was kind of a big mess for that stuff. And I'll say this, and I'm going to talk about this when we talk about runner etiquette, that if you want to be at the front of the corral, or if you're dead set on, I have got to be in that corral, then you just get there early.
Right. Just start out a little bit earlier.
This is what you always get with people is you get people will get there. They're disciplined, and they will. And I'm not being in front of the crowd is not important to me. So I'm not going to get up an hour earlier just so I can be in front of the crowd. Might be important to you. If it is, awesome. But when you walk up to the corral and there are people in the corral standing up front, or they are sitting down in the corral because they got there so early, what you always run into is right at the very end, you'll have like these groups of people that feel so entitled that are like, I can get here late, and then what I'll do is I'll just squeeze my way through everybody and go to the front.
Right.
And for those people, just if it's important to you, just get up earlier and get there. Yeah. Just get there.
Don't inconvenience everybody else that did get up earlier and got there.
Let them, if people want to get up early and get there, let them do it. But there was kind of a big mess at the back. I didn't see it. I said I was in B corral. I will say this. Talk to people. That C corral was massive. When you looked at, they've got these big, huge balls that say like A, B, C, D, E, and F. And when you looked at them, it was like the A corral was tiny, the B corral was small, and then the C corral seemed like it was 10 times bigger than the B corral. I mean, it was just, I don't know how many people were in it, but it was a big corral. So, it was a little bit of a mess at the beginning of it, but when the course started, we'll talk about some of the pros and cons here in a minute that about the course, especially the half and the full courses, some choke points and some different things. But I was very disciplined, and this may be something that some of you guys want to consider. I'd never done this before, and I don't even know where the thought came in my mind of it, but I set that max pace again. It was like, this is, when I say max pace, not like the pace you're running at the very point, but the average pace for that mile is the maximum, the fastest I want to be running in this mile. And that really helped me. And it forced me to take it easy and just to manage the race, to take it for what it is. Hey, I had made the decision I was going to tour the parks. And so I was touring the parks, and I knew I was a little bit undertrained.
Right.
And so I took all those things into consideration, and then I was going to take what the course gave me. And for myself, I did that up through I wanted to, okay, let's get to the halfway point, see how you feel. And then what I started doing is I started letting myself go a little bit faster. I would move that max pace up a little bit. And be honest with you, Jed, I was shocked how good I felt.
Right.
And honestly, the last 6 miles of the race, I was passing people the entire time.
Oh, wow.
I mean, there were people that you could tell went out hard and kind of hit that wall.
Yeah.
And it had gotten hotter. And man, I'm different than most people. I would rather run when it's 100 degrees than when it's 40 degrees.
Really?
I hate running in the cold, and heat doesn't bother me. And we live in a place that Orlando temperatures are
pretty much.
We're pretty much the same. I mean, it's hot and humid where we are, so I felt like that was a little bit of an advantage to me, and I wasn't saying it, out loud, but you kind of give yourself these mantras, and I was saying to myself, hey, this is where you're strong.
Right.
Other people are kind of going backwards. This is where you're getting stronger. And so came through, finished, felt really good. I mean, felt good. And you just got 48 miles, so your body's feeling it, no doubt. But I felt good. And with the lack of that finishing training, which some of the longer miles are in that finishing training, and the choice to tour the parks, I felt really good about where we ended up. So got the medals, perfect 10 for 10. So you got the Dopey, the Goofy and the Dopey. You got the little lanyard. At check-in, we got a little lunch box that had a 48.6 mile perfect Dopey hat in it. Cool little lunch box, and 2 cookies, and then a little coupon to free OtterBox item. So,
Right.
That was kind of cool to get recognized. There were 59, I believe, perfect marathoners there for the 30-year anniversary of the marathon.
That's incredible.
Incredible. I saw a story of a guy that's he's 80 years old, and he's perfect marathoner.
Wow.
There's perfect Dopies. The number is somewhere around 412 going into this weekend. I'm interested to see. There's a guy in the perfect. We got a little perfect Dopey Facebook group. He does a lot of work on like analyzing the data and figuring out who. So I'm interested to see how many perfect Dopies are left after this weekend, and then especially interested to see next year how many people decide to do it, because 10 years is a big deal. Every 5 years is a big deal. I was talking to a guy from Chicago on the monorail on Saturday going over, and we were having that discussion of how many people do we think will drop out after 10, and how many perfects will be left. So, wrapping up a really good weekend. That was, stayed 10 for 10, managed the race. I think I was smarter in my racing. I say racing, not going out and trying to race that originally my goal was to attack the half marathon. But coming into the weekend with like I said, deciding to tour the parks with my daughter, and then just being a little bit undertrained, I just made the decision to, okay, just, hey, go out there and manage these 2 days, and that's what I did.
Well, you've been talking a little bit about pros and cons, so tell us some more of those. What went right? What could go better? What went wrong, from an experience standpoint, and from the standpoint of the environment and the folks around you?
Yeah, I think from a pro standpoint, it's exactly what you would expect from Disney. I asked for some feedback in a couple of the Facebook groups, and almost to a T, they were all, the atmosphere of the races is second to none.
Yeah, that's what they do best.
Yeah, I mean, it's what they're the best at. Crowd management. I mean, you're dealing with that many people. They do an awesome job of getting people flowing, and just the crowd management, and just dealing with all the logistics of something like that. They just did a great job. On-course entertainment was really good this year. There had been a couple of years where it had kind of waned a little bit. Then coming out of COVID, and this being really the first back full, everybody there.
Yeah.
The on-course entertainment was good, whether it be anything from marching bands to characters to the music. It was a 90s theme. We did hear Mbop like a million times, and then
I would imagine
the
so.
DuckTales theme. But it was really good. There's plenty of DJs out there at different times doing it. You just run the music. I really liked the music. We were coming back into Epcot, and I can't remember if it was, you know what, I think it was Full Marathon when we were doing the little 4-mile loop. There was a lady, she was the DJ right before we went, and Billy Ray Cyrus, Achy Breaky Heart. It's like but it was like the techno version of it was playing.
Wow.
And so just Vanilla Ice, Ice Ice Baby was playing at one point. I mean, there was just a lot of really good music, especially for those of us that
went to the Chapman High School senior prom in 1992.
That's right. That was our deal. And so yeah, the on-course entertainment, those things were, nobody does it like Disney.
Right.
People try, but nobody does it like Disney. And we try, even in our business, we try to implement some of the Disney business practices of how do we don't talk about our customers as customers. We call them guests.
Yeah, it's a guest experience.
Yeah, it's a guest experience. And so yeah, you really get that during this. And for anybody that's listening to this, that's contemplating doing any of the races, 5K, 10K, half full, whatever it may be, it is a true experience. It's not just a race. And so yeah, that'd be the big things. And generally that's what you're always going to get from Disney.
What were some of the downsides? There's always something that can go a little better. What are some of the things that happen that could possibly be addressed in the future? Yeah,
there are some themes here, and for the most part, most people were these would be the things if they were going to complain or have an issue, they would be these. One of them is runner etiquette, and that is Disney. They talk about it and they try to encourage people, but there's only so much they can do to get people to do it. But, from some of the things like I talked about with the corrals of, people trying to bust up to the front of the corral, that got there late, people jumping over the corral, things trying to get in other corrals because they were late in other corrals. Some of that stuff is just, what people don't understand is those kind of things create anxiety for the other people that are there. And for some people standing in those corrals, they're really, really nervous. And then these other things just add on layers of anxiety.
That's what I've tried to explain to people for years and years and years in my former life as a sports writer. Why do you get to the press box so early? Because of everything that somebody else might screw up.
Yes.
I've got my stuff handled, but I don't know what anybody else is going to do that's going to affect the rest of my evening, so I get there early. Yeah. Same deal, right?
So it's same deal. And like I said, I told you, Thursday and Friday, I got on the bus at 4:00. Now, let me tell you what I know when I get on the bus at 4:00, I know a couple of things. I know, number one, the reason I'm doing that is because I'm not going to have to stand out in that corral for an hour, or an hour and a half. Number two, I also know, hey, you're not going to be at the front of your corral.
Right.
And I'm okay with those two things. So I stand there and, people want to go, but whatever, do whatever you want to do. But those are two things I know. If being at the front of the corral is important to you, you need to get up earlier and you need to get there early. And don't be inconveniencing other people because you didn't want to. And we're going to do an entire episode on runner etiquette. So I don't want to camp on this too long because there's a lot of things going on with this, and I saw them all. And there seems to be, and anytime it's posted on one of the Facebook groups, it turns into a fight of, you've got a lot of when you go to Disney, there's a lot of walkers,
Sure.
a lot of people walking, which is a great thing because it's a lot of people. This is their first time out there. They're walking the entire thing. It's what people don't understand is that for some people, that person out in that 5K or 10K that's walking, that may get in your way a little bit, that may be a little bit, okay, why are they walking 3 wide instead of 2 wide? And you get to them and then you start thinking really, really bad things. What are they doing? They need to get out of the way. We're running. For that person, that may be the biggest step in their entire health journey, is being out there in a 10K
and walking the whole thing.
And sometimes Dopey, especially the Dopey challengers, we can get this little bit of a chip on our shoulder of, hey, we're out here doing this big thing and you're out here only doing 10K. And, get out of my way. Do you not understand runner etiquette? They probably don't understand runner etiquette because they haven't run 20 marathons and 500 5Ks and all they don't understand it. But with that being said, I think we got to figure out a way to really educate people on how do we go out on a course. And I was talking to a group before the half, and I said, if everybody would just out there would think, okay, what can I do how do I just do the right thing for the other runners around me? Whether you're running like a blaze of glory or whether you're walking the entire time. Because what you see is, you see some people out there running wide and they're just like running into people and doing other things that they shouldn't be doing. They cut in front of people. The run walk method, which is you run for a while, you walk, they're running, and then they just start walking. They don't signal like they're supposed to, and then somebody runs into them, and it creates a problem. I mean, there's a lot of things that I think we got to do a better job, and we're going to do a podcast just on runner etiquette. We're actually going to do some videos on how should you signal when you're going. And what I mean by that, Jed, is the run walk method is you run for a minute, you walk for 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. The problem is when you don't signal. And what a lot of people will do,
it's like a brake light.
Yeah, it's like a brake light. And what I saw a lot was people would signal, but they would signal as they're stopping. So it's like they're going, they're running. Somebody may be right behind them running, and then they just stop. At the same time they stop, they hold their hand up. Well, It doesn't matter. I mean, you're
right. You stop now.
You got to hold your hand up a couple of seconds before you're stopping, so people know. And let me get around them. There's some corners on that course that are tight that people would, not hold their lane. But again, we're going to do an entire podcast, and we're going to do videos of some of these runner etiquette things of how do you properly, we're going to show it. We're going to be out running on a track, and we're going to have 7 or 8 people running. And if you're going to run walk, what do you do? If you're approaching a corner that's got cones, I mean, there are a million cones on a Disney course. You're approaching a tight corner with a cone. What should you do? Do you hold your line? Well, I mean, all those kind of things. Where should runners be? Where should walkers be? How do we make it a better experience? But that was a frustration for many out there. Second thing that kind of goes along with that is there in the Disney course, it's generally going to be either just wide open spaces that you can run in or very narrow spots. you talk about on ramps and exit ramps. You talk about entering into the parks, different places, a lot of tight turns. It gets really, really narrow. This kind of goes along with the runner etiquette thing of just got to know it. I mean, if there's 5 people walking 5 wide, and you're in one of those exit ramps, or you're entering a park, there's no way to get around them.
Right, you're just going to be stuck from it.
Well, what happens is your choice is one of two things. Either you're gonna have to slow your pace and just stay behind them until the thing opens up again, or you just bust through them. And you see both of those things,
right,
where people just kind of get sideways and they just kind of go,
just gone.
They just go through them, go through the middle of them. Then the walkers are mad, then the runners mad, and then it just creates an issue. So we'll cover some of those things when we do just the runner etiquette podcast that deals with that. The biggest and I don't know the answer to this one, because as you know, on podcasts, I told you I'm so glad we don't go through Wide World of Sports anymore.
Right.
I mean, I hated Wide World of Sports. So they changed it up, and basically the change, and most people just say that it's from Animal Kingdom to Hollywood Studios to Blizzard Beach portion now, but it's also that 4-mile portion that we go through, that little loop. When we start, we do a loop through Epcot, and that gets us at 4 miles. So basically, you come back to, when you cross the start line again, when you run right beside where the start line is, you're 4 miles in after you do that loop. So they've added that in, and then when you leave Animal Kingdom now, instead of coming out the front of Animal Kingdom, going down Osceola Parkway down to Wide World of Sports, now you go out to Blizzard Beach. It's completely underwhelming. You're out in the middle of just the parking lot, and that's it. And so I don't know what the answer to that is. We're going to have to figure out, and maybe we can come up with some solutions of how do we make that stretch better. I don't know what you could do to make it better, because there's really nothing between those two parks. But that's really it, Jed. That's going to be the thing. The Expo was, like I said, kind of a disaster. Got to figure that out. But other than that, man, we're ready for another one.
So I was going to say, everybody's got a year now to train for the next one.
That's right. And we'll start that series coming up shortly. But, man, Jed, it was a great weekend. Great seeing all you guys out there, and let's get after it. Until then, just remember, you do the hard things today, tomorrow will take care of itself.